The Hogsty is brought to you by TicketClub.com, your one-stop shop for live events nationwide. Whether you're looking for game, theater, or live performance tickets, don't sweat it. TicketClub.com has you covered. So make sure you're going there for all your live entertainment needs, and make sure you're clicking over to them from the banner at the top of thehogsty.com.
By fans, for fans, the Hog Style. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Welcome to the Hogsty, DC's unofficial leading source for all things Redskins and the NFL, brought to you, of course, by TicketClub.com. My name is Sean. I got Steve here with me today. It's a beautiful Saturday. How you doing, Steve?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. You know, more importantly, rather than me, it's the fact that Alex has been like hiding out in the woods for 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
That's why Alex isn't here. I don't know where he is, or we're not sure if he's like, you know, he's become the mountain man or what.
I know. It's like, how can you spend that many weeks in the woods? I'd go absolutely insane.
Yeah, I would too. A couple days here and there are fine, but I just, God bless Alex if he wants to do that. Amen. And we tried to get Jamal hooked up. We had some technical things with Jamal going on, so we're sorry to say that he can't be with us as well. But I'm just fascinated by Alex's, sojourn out in the woods. So it seems like it's been going on forever because this is the second show he's missed because of this.
And Alex kind of does everything for you folks at home. For context, he kind of does everything in terms of keeping this place running. So when he's not here, it's a very terrifying time for us. It's a very scary time. I feel very cold and alone when he's not here. So
nobody knows how to run the website except him. That's a problem.
Exactly. I mean, we can get by for a while, but eventually it will all come crashing down without Alex.
Exactly. The thing's going to blow up. Yeah, without him.
Well, we got it's the off season. There's not a huge amount of anything going on right now, but we're gonna get through this show with the little news that has come out. Tell you what, though, on an unrelated note from football, have you been watching any of this show Westworld, Steve, or have you heard of it before?
I'm sorry to say, I've heard the name. I've never seen a single moment of Westworld. I've heard it's a great show. I haven't seen anything about it.
Folks,
convince me.
If you are struggling through this Redskin offseason as much as we are, and there's just absolutely no news or really anything to talk about for the most part now, this is a perfect
listen
time.
to the show.
Yeah, I mean, we'll give you everything we got, but this is a great time to catch up on your binge-watching TV. Westworld, fantastic sci-fi stuff. It's about a futuristic park where people can go and interact with basically robots that look and behave exactly like real people. And that's the idea of this amusement park. You can go mistreat, murder, do horrible things to these people, to these robots, but they begin to become self-aware, and that's where the story begins. It is excellent viewing.
Okay, I have to ask a question about this because this is fascinating to me because this is the first time I heard about this. Now, what is the most basic human instinct?
What a deep question. I bet you all at home didn't think you were getting this today.
It's philosophy time. Don't overthink this. What's the most basic human instinct? And I'm going to apply this to a robot.
The most basic human instinct.
Yes, beyond survival, of course. What do people want to do more than anything else?
Own things.
No, I was going to say...
Oh, fornicate?
Yes.
that's
now, you said these Westworld characters are robots.
Yes.
So are they fornicating with robots?
Ha-ha. An excellent question, Steve, and one I'd be happy to answer here on our football podcast.
I figured you would.
They are, in fact, so their bodies are exactly like human beings in every single way except for their brain, which is like a microchip, basically. So the idea is that you shoot them, they bleed, they cry. They do everything that a normal person would do except for, the thing that's driving them is this machine. That's the idea, at least. So yes, to answer your question, yes, exactly what you're hinting at happens with these robots.
And because it's a microchip, it's kind of like, is this sort of akin to a sex doll? I mean, you can go down to a store and buy one of these things, and that's kind of what Westworld is?
Honestly, yes. That's the idea. It's that, but the problem is, and this is a great way to put it, Westworld is about what happens when the sex doll wakes up and realizes what's happening. That's what Westworld
Sounds like you get an assault charge is what it sounds like.
Exactly. Now, I would highly recommend this, Steve, for anyone that's looking for something to binge watch and kill some time. This is high-quality stuff. It's on HBO, which is a barrier, I know, for a lot of people watching it. Oh, but it's so worth it.
This segment has been brought to you by Homebox.
Yeah, I know. We're doing free ads for them. Okay. Moving on from that, we had a couple. Actually, you know what? Before I forget, over on thehogsty.com, we have a very active comment section. If you go over there, click on the most recent article, and go down there and say, "Hi, Hogsty, I'm a new voice. I just signed up. We'll send you a t-shirt." So you got to go over to the comment section. You got to get in there. You got to announce your presence there. Say, "Hey, I'm a listener. I'm a new commenter. We'll send you a t-shirt for the first one we see."
And I'd just like to, as the Hogsty legal counsel, I'd like to point out that unless you qualify that to some extent, we're going to end up owing everybody who's new forever a t-shirt.
A t-shirt, yes.
So please clarify what you mean.
It's the first comment we see. Just the first. So only
This is
one.
why you have me here, Sean.
Yeah, I know. I mean, hey, I'm not made of money.
And we promise you that, you won't get abused too bad. You probably will get abused a little bit down there.
Probably a
but
lot
it'll
of
be
it,
okay.
but you know
Yeah,
what?
but they'll get over it, and then you'll get over
We
it.
got a bunch of knuckleheads in there. We love them, but,
We don't love all of them. We only love some of them.
only a couple of them, actually. All right, well, anyways, get over there in the comment section. Announce yourself. Say you're a new commenter, and we'll send you a t-shirt. I'll give it to the first comment we see. Okay, moving on from there, back into football stuff in the wonderful world of the NFL. Let's talk about, before we get into more Redskin-specific stuff, let's talk about Johnny Manziel. I understand he had quite the debut over there in the CFL, Steve. Have you heard this?
I would say he had a debut, more so than he had quite the debut.
A debut.
I thought it was interesting, and I know this isn't a Redskin thing and everything, but I thought it was interesting because this guy is back somehow, back from the dead. And of course he never was really there in the first place. But listen, I mean, the guy, I think, hopefully he's off drugs. He's off drugs enough to at least play football. He's with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He is the backup quarterback of the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Wow.
And he entered Friday's game, 3:38 remaining in the second quarter, completed 9 of 12 passes for 80 yards. Had five total possessions. So he's back, sort of. I certainly wish him the best of luck. I still think he's a terrible quarterback by NFL standards, but I'm glad to see that at least to a certain extent he's turned his life around. So that's hope for all you guys out there who are drug addicts. You can turn it around.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
If you're snorting coke on camera with a dollar bill in a bathroom in a Las Vegas nightclub, you too can become a quarterback of the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
They may want to talk to you right now, in fact. It's kind of crazy to think. I mean, he's another one of those guys that, there were obvious questions about his abilities, coming into the draft, but he fell so far down the draft board. And then now you see what's going on with him now, and you're like, okay, well, I guess that kind of makes sense. He's the backup
He didn't
quarterback.
fall nearly enough. I mean, he didn't fall nearly enough down the draft
No, I think it
board.
was a light year
I think-
on quarterbacks, wasn't it? So that's probably why it wasn't
Yeah,
lower.
I mean, plus it was Cleveland. I mean,
Exactly.
Cleveland is the, place where football players go to die.
Right. Exactly, yeah, especially quarterbacks. Well, anyways, I mean, it's nice to see. I guess he's still, he's still making an effort there. So good luck to you, Johnny.
I'd say he's starting to make any effort, because certainly his NFL career did not include making an effort. I mean, this is a guy who was flying out to Vegas during the middle of the, Browns practice week and lying to his coaches about it. So he wasn't exactly the most mature fellow.
Not the smartest
back then.
guy in the world. Now, I'd be curious to know,
Don't
actually.
do drugs, kids.
Maybe we can look this up, or maybe Steve, because you're a freak with these numbers. But do you know what his total payout was from the NFL? Like how much money Johnny Manziel ended up making, by any chance? I'll try to Google
Not
it.
right off the top. No, not right off the top of my head. Let's see.
I mean, he would have been on a rookie contract still when he left.
He would have been on a rookie contract, but he was a first-round draft pick.
Right.
And the first-round draft pick comes with significant money. But remember this also, though. Johnny Manziel's family is wealthy. See, he's from Texas. His family's a wealthy oil family, so he didn't really need the money in the first place. So it's not like this is one of these kids that's, lived in impoverished circumstances and his brother's in jail and, his mother's, selling heroin. This is not Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel is a one percenter.
I actually didn't know that
He
about
was
him.
in first place. Yeah, he was.
I had no idea they were in oil. Wow. Makes me not like them.
It's a Texas thing. I mean, yeah, it's a Texas thing.
It's a Texas. Well, you're not an oil.
So he had, but
You're in Texas.
well, I'm not a.
You're not a
I
real
know I'm not a
Texan.
Texas. I'm not either. But I mean, I hear about these things, and he was. I mean, Menzel was really, really popular at A&M because, you know, he's a Texas boy and blah blah blah. Okay, let's see.
It's funny that like the son of the oil baron does a lot better in college than he does like outside of college. I feel like, yeah.
Well,
the
it's
world
because
hit him
I
in the
mean he
face.
was yeah, you know, because he was physically superior in college. But okay, here's the answer to the question. His contract was a 4-year, $8.24 million contract signed in 2014, and that was after the last CBA. So that whole amount was probably guaranteed. So unless they recouped it, some of it, which they probably didn't because they waived him, so he probably made $8.24 million for basically doing nothing in Cleveland.
That's life money right there. That's more than life money. I mean.
Not for him.
I
He
know.
already had
That's so sad
$8.24
to
million.
think that you could squander that because the dude could have lived his whole life comfortably on just that money he made for, you know,
yeah.
1-2 years doing nothing. You know,
Oh yeah, absolutely, definitely.
yeah, it's just very sad.
You know, and I haven't looked up his stats, but he may have enough accrued years to have a pension from the NFL already too.
No
You'd have to
way,
check. But
really?
yeah,
They give out pensions
yeah.
that easy? Holy
Yeah, it's only like 3 years.
Wow.
3 or 4 years. Yeah, you don't have to make it very far to get some sort of pension from the NFL.
You know, that's another thing I'm embarrassed to say on air that I had no idea about. Okay, great. So earn my way onto a team as a backup, you know, long snapper, get a pension.
Exactly.
Boom. Okay. I know what I'm going to push my son to do.
You know how much money Nick Sundberg's made?
I mean, he's been with the team so long. It's got to be crazy by now. I mean, he's got to be very wealthy. he's been with the team longer than
there's
probably
no doubt
anyone
he's
else, hasn't he?
Listen, he's on a $4.4 million contract right now.
Wow.
Expires in 2020, and that's his second contract with the team. You know, all for just being a long snapper. And God bless the man. You know, I'm all for it. But it doesn't take much.
You know,
to make a lot of money if you can make the NFL.
we talked about this a while ago, but he is one of the longest tenured Redskins on the team right now, right?
Oh,
He's
yeah.
if not the
definitely. Him and
longest.
Trent.
Him and Trent, yeah.
Him and Trent both. And Sundberg, you know, it's funny because he's only 6 feet 245. You know, so it's not like he could hold a block if he had to. That's why he's a long snapper and not a center.
Must be doing something right. I wish I had the you know, mental acumen to diagnose long
We need
snapper
to get him on the
abilities.
show because we've already had Hopkins and Tressway both on the show. We need to get the entire, you know, special teams triumvirate on the show.
I guess that's right, actually. You're right.
Yeah,
All right, well, that's our next one to target. Get on it, Steve.
I will.
All right. Moving on from there, a couple other funny, interesting story, little things in the news before we get to Redskins stuff. Mostly with the Patriots. So I saw actually 2 separate funny stories about the Patriots. Actually, one's funny and the other one's just kind of whatever. Let's start with Brady. Now, Brady's not attending this training camp, right, is what it is, for the first time in his career?
Yeah, well, it's OTAs. He's not been at OTAs for the first time in his career. I just it's like the first signs of the true crack in the wall, I think.
Do you think it's really, though, a sign of a cracking in the facade, or is it just like at this point? I mean, would you make Tom Brady come to OTAs at this point?
Well, no, I mean, but the point is he's always done it. What's changed this year? You know, there's been all these rumors about, you know, negative energy, for lack of a better term, in the Patriots facility. You know, there's been rumors of conflict between Brady and Belichick and Mr. Kraft, and now Brady isn't. You know, he's 40 years old, and now he's not showing up to OTAs. You know, and he's married to someone who's making more money than he is. I think all of this means Tom Brady may be gone sooner than we think.
That brings up so many interesting thoughts in my head. I guess, first of all, Tom Brady being gone sooner than we think, I could see it. That's a very Patriots thing to do. He's still got playing time left in him. If they could somehow, you know.
Well,
I
there's
could
that.
see it
I
happening.
think Brady may retire too.
I don't know if he's ready to retire. He's playing at such a high level still. I mean,
Why would he continue? What does he have left to prove?
well, that's actually exactly the point that I was getting to. Is like Tom Brady is in the ultimate bargaining position right now. He doesn't need to show up to OTAs because, like you said, I don't think he has anything to prove to anyone, including himself at this point. If he were to never play football again, he's still done it. He has
Probably
done it.
the most accomplished quarterback in the history of the game.
Easily.
Best. You can argue who's best, but resume wise, he's it.
And I don't think there's that many people that you could even successfully argue are in that tier with him.
Yeah,
There's a
I mean,
couple.
you can go Montana, Bradshaw, John Unitas maybe. I mean, but his resume doesn't measure up. I mean, he's up there. Peyton Manning.
Maybe, yeah.
You know,
I mean,
yeah.
but I mean, even Brady's over Manning at this point. I think we'd all have to.
At resume-wise,
I mean,
he
we
is,
have to
yeah.
accept that. So I think to him, it's kind of like, whatever. It doesn't matter if my relationship's degrading with Kraft or Belichick because I've done what I need to do. I'm a very wealthy
Yeah.
man. I'm a very successful man, and I'm coming to the end of my natural playing career. At this point, he probably just doesn't care.
I mean, we bring this up, folks, because for those of you out there who are rooting for the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, this may be the very first sign that,
It could
Caesar
potentially
may
happen.
be on his way out. Yeah, finally. Right.
This is actually kind of an interesting question. What do you think the Patriots can expect in a post-Brady world, record-wise?
I think if you look at the history of teams losing superstars, they typically fall apart.
That's a
in
really
every sport.
interesting. That's really interesting. We should write an article about that. Or
Well, maybe you brought an idea up because if you go back to like say the '90s Cowboys, Troy Aikman's gone. They were horrible they were horrible for 10 years.
Wow.
The Lakers lost Kobe Bryant. They haven't had a winning season since he left.
wow,
The Colts lost Peyton Manning, and even with Andrew Luck, they've never been the same. The only team I think that can say that straight off the top of my head that kind of has kept it together was the Steelers after Bradshaw left. But even then, it took them 15 years to get back to the
drop
Super
off.
Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they've never been terrible. So I think that when Brady leaves, it's going to fall apart. There's no doubt it's going to fall apart because you can't lose one of the greatest ever, and or maybe the greatest ever, and expect that they're just going to keep rolling. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I hear where you're coming from. The only question I would ask you is, we've seen them do quite well with backup quarterbacks. We've seen, Garoppolo in years past come in and light up the world for a game.
I know. You're right, but I'm just telling you. If
Historically-
you just look at the history
Yeah.
of it. Jordan leaves the Bulls. It took them 15 years to get back to being a solid team. They were horrible forever. After Jordan left the Bulls. Kobe left the Lakers. They've been terrible since then.
I could see it.
Aikman leaves the Cowboys. They're terrible.
I could see it. It'll be really interesting to see because we'll finally, I think, get a little bit more insight into Belichick's system and the strengths of Belichick's system.
Right.
Who was it that just in the last few days, some former Patriots player, I cannot recall who it was, came out and said, it's just not fun to play there.
Oh, yeah, he was, like third string tight end.
It was some nobody, okay.
Said, yeah, he was some nobody. The other team that kept it together was the Packers, but the Packers lucked into another franchise quarterback in Aaron Rodgers after Brett Favre
That's
left.
just
And
so
that may
unfair.
be the true only one.
I mean,
That may be they're going to have at the end of it. They're going to have 40 years of Hall of Fame quarterback.
I mean,
You know?
it really is crazy to
Or
think.
35 years.
It is so crazy to think how smooth that transition was for them. It was so easy to be able to do that. And Aaron Rodgers sat for how many years first? 2 years, maybe?
At least and they kind of had to run Favre out of town,
Right.
Basically.
That's right.
And it kind of ended in an acrimonious way. And I don't know if I think they finally retired his jersey. I think didn't
Yes.
they finally do that
They
last
did.
year?
Yep.
But it took a while.
It took a long time.
And Favre was mad at him for the longest time over it. So and the other one I guess you can think of in NFL history is the 49ers when Montana left. They had Steve Young, and
Another
and
great
they
transition.
they ran Montana out of town. And so I think that if the Patriots were smart, what they would have done is kept Jimmy Garoppolo and just run Brady out.
Right.
It sounds harsh, but that's what they should have done. But the story, there was all this stories about that Brady didn't like him and wanted him out, and who knows what happened. But if the Patriots would have been like coldly analytical about it, that's what they would have done.
And they often are. The Patriots are often pretty good about cutting talent
Yeah.
with old, aging talent that's still got a couple years left, but is clearly on their decline. They're pretty good about getting rid of that. So we'll see.
Except for Brady, apparently.
Yeah, except for Brady, exactly. We'll see if that holds out. It'll be interesting to see what the the post Brady Patriots.
Because unless the
look like.
guy, look, I mean, the old saying that Father Time always wins. So unless Brady's taking every steroid, imaginable,
Right.
his arm's going to fall off at some point. I'm sorry, Patriot fans, but he can't keep it up. There's no way he's going to be a quarterback at age 44.
Well, he's not. That's the thing, though, Steve. He employs these weird witch doctors. Haven't you followed this?
Yeah, I know, but I don't care what witch doctor he employs, though. I mean, it's going to stop for him at some point. It just can't keep it up.
No witch voodoo magic is that powerful. I agree. He's on a time limit. Okay, let's.
You got to tell the other one though, real fast. Tell the other Patriot story before we get into it. I know we've run too long.
No, but I think this is hilarious. So
gotta let
picture went out on Twitter the other day of Bill Belichick eating at Chick-fil-A. Actually, it was taken from inside the Chick-fil-A, pointed out through the drive-thru, and you can see him sitting there in his car, which is just kind of funny if you know who Bill Belichick is and his personality. I don't know why it's so funny to think about him eating at Chick-fil-A.
It's just hilarious.
But it just is funny to think about that.
Can you imagine him ordering, like a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich, number one, please, hold the pickles, and just mumbling. Oh, it's
hold
so
the pickles, hold the bun, no drink, no fries. Just give him one circular chicken patty. That's it. And even that's a little too bold. He probably de-skins it. But it's hilarious. I don't know why. It's just everything that he does is unintentionally fun. He's such like an old, crotchety, curmudgeon-y looking guy. He's like,
yeah, he is
just walking around in public, and
it just makes me laugh.
It's hilarious. Anyway, it's worth a look if you go on Twitter and look for that picture. Hilarious. Moving on from there, we can actually start talking about Redskins stuff. Now, we told you at the top of the show, folks, it's a slow week. It's the off season, so bear with us here. We're doing our best. We got a poll this week, a user poll as we usually do. Steve, what was the user poll this week?
Well, the user poll is tied to our position group breakdown, which is safeties this week.
Safeties.
So what we did here is I was curious as to how you guys felt about DJ Swearinger and Monte Nicholson as a starting tandem. So the question this week was, how confident are you in the Redskins starting tandem of DJ Swearinger and Monte Nicholson? Your choice is they're the long-term answer at safety. DJ, yes. Nicholson, no. Meaning you're confident in DJ but not in Nicholson. Or Nicholson, yes. DJ, no. Or both of them are just stopgaps, meaning we haven't really improved anything.
Oh, man.
Considering how slow the week goes, we got some fairly good participation on this. So people were interested. So, Sean.
Yeah.
What do you think?
This is a tough one.
What do you think?
This is a tough one
Yeah,
with
it
the
is.
answers that you put out there. I like both of them so much. I don't quite think of them as stopgap, but Swearinger's not the long-term guy. Neither one of them is probably the long-term guy. I really don't know what people would have said. What was option A again? What was the first?
Option A is they are the long-term answer.
Yeah, they're
at
the
safety.
long-term answer.
Meaning
See,
we found our answer.
I wish there was an answer on this, like option D or option E, that was like, I like them.
Twitter limitations.
I know. It's like I wish I could say I like them both quite a bit, but they're probably not the long-term answer because that's the way I feel about it personally. I'm just gonna guess here and say, people said. I really have no idea. I'm gonna just guess. People said Swearinger.
You gotta pick something.
I'm gonna guess. People said Swearinger, yes. Nicholson, no, maybe, or it could totally be the other way around. I guess I'm gonna go for B or C. What people said, but I really don't know. This is a tough one.
Okay. Well, you're wrong.
What else is new, Steve?
By a vote of 47%, believe it or not, 47% of you out there think that Nicholson and Swearinger are the long-term answer.
Now hold on, just a country minute here.
Yeah, Sean doesn't like that.
I love Nicholson and Swearinger both quite a bit as players, but long-term solution? How can people say that?
Well, we're going to get to that because I have an answer to that. But let's go over the rest of the poll here. 19% of you said DJ is the long-term answer, but Nicholson is not. And then the Nicholson, yes, DJ, no, and the stopgap answer was actually both tied at 17%.
So none of those are really popular answers.
Yeah. So the only real popular answer was long-term answer. And I don't know. I thought about it. I don't know what the middle ground answer could have been. It was, they're either stopgaps, meaning they're going to be here a couple of years, or the long-term answer, or one or more of them.
I think it's just stopgap sounds
like
so
the choices,
hard. Stopgap sounds like you don't.
We've been having stopgap safety since Sean Taylor
You're
died.
not wrong. You're definitely not wrong.
We got a few comments here, not too many this time, but some of you are interested in this. Let's go with Adam first, who's at DC9, Adam W. He says, if they can stay healthy, they are both very good from what I've seen. See, that's sort of along the lines of what you
Yes,
think.
I agree. That's almost word for word what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go with Saban, who, I don't like normally going with Saban because he's got a picture of Nick Saban as his little, what's the thing, icon. But he is at Thousand Suns Hot. He says, well, now, see, if you can get that Monte kid to keep his head up when he makes a tackle, you might just have something there with Jungle Boy Swag, which is DJ's Twitter
Jungle Boy
name,
Swag.
helping him. Yeah. But here's the interesting point, and so people still can't get over this. What you should have done is draft Minkah Fitzpatrick. I tell you, that fella is special. Focus on the process. There are people out there who still are not happy that Minkah Fitzpatrick is not a Redskin. And Mr. Saban here is
one of them.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Saban.
Yeah. Cody Swisher, who's at CHBucko7, says Nicholson has the ability and speed to be a big-time safety, and long-term, if he can stay healthy, DJ has the ability, leadership, and awareness of a veteran to lead our DB group. Both should be kept long-term. So there's somebody who believes in a long-term thing. And the last one I want to go over here, I can find it. Here we go. T Living, who's at TLive1, says Fish Smithson is the best safety on the team. The only safety that can cover if on a better collegiate team would have been a first-round pick. Hashtag tape don't lie.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's the Cult of Fish,
Apparently.
who we've seen for a year now, the Cult of Fish.
I mean, how many plays did Fish Smithson see the field for?
Well, I have that answer. Fish was active for 2 games.
Okay. Active for 2 games, saw the field 0 times.
With no stats.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah, no stats.
Well,
He might have been on the field. I wouldn't swear to that, but he has no stats.
I mean, he's doing something right if people are big fans of him.
We'll get to Fish later. I'll tell you, we'll get to Fish. But in terms of preview, I'd like to start with DJ. You want to start with DJ?
Absolutely.
Because you brought him
Let's
up.
start with Swearinger.
Okay. Here's why I think DJ could be a long-term answer, and under what circumstance. First of all, DJ 5'10", 205. He was a second-round pick of the Houston Texans in 2013. He's from South Carolina. He was Josh Norman's high school teammate, so they're best buds. 4.67 40-yard dash time, 17 bench press reps, 37-inch vertical leap. So he's not fast. DJ got waived by the Texans. He was at Tampa for a blink of an eye, and then he was with Arizona on a 1-year contract, and then that's when he came to Washington. So DJ was very highly rated coming out of college. I liked him as a potential Redskins pick back then. I remember in that draft.
2013, you said it was?
Yeah, 2013. He hasn't really, until last year, he had never really lived up to his draft status. Yeah. But here's the thing about DJ. He's 26 years old. I think if the Redskins can get a true free safety, because we play this cover 3 thing a lot. I'm not talking about when they go to quarters, coverage, or when they do a cover 2. That our base is basically cover 3. I think DJ is smart enough and savvy enough to do both, but he doesn't really have the range to be a true free safety. But if you watch his film, the man is brutal in the box. I think he's a classic in the box, strong safety. His problem is he's a little bit undersized for that. But he's got a ton of leadership ability. He's blossomed in DC. He was elected captain, as a first-year Redskin, elected captain. So he's so young, and he's only going to get better, and the players love him. His teammates love him. I think DJ has, if they can solve the free safety problem, maybe they have. We'll get to that. I think DJ has a chance to be a long-term, 6, 7, 8-year strong safety with the Redskins.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I'm actually surprised that he's only 26. I thought he was a little bit, at least a couple years older than that, but he's very young.
Seems like he should
Yeah,
be.
exactly.
Yeah.
Also, he had one very good year with the Texans, didn't he?
Well, he had 1 year with the Texans.
But it was great. He had a very statistically successsul year with it, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, you're right. He had 54 tackles in 2013 and 52 in 2014. So he had solid years. There were a couple weird incidents with him in Houston. I mean, his vehicle was somehow involved in it wasn't a robbery. He got in trouble because he got accused by by a car modification company who, you can go out and get your car tricked out. He said that they drove away, and he drove away and didn't pay him $20,000 and got charged with a crime because of it. But he made that go away and paid him.
I see.
His pit bull bit another player.
Ooh.
Bit Jadeveon Clowney. You had to go to the emergency room. At least according to Wikipedia has that entry.
That'll usually.
So there were a couple weird things that happened, in Houston. I don't know why they gave up on him so fast, to be perfectly honest.
Seems kind of surprising. That was my reaction when it happened.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess then I'll concede that he could probably be a longer-term solution than maybe I was saying in the poll discussion, although it seems like the problem with him, or maybe it's just more the problem with the team in general, is that we had a lot of these defensive backs that were more geared towards run stuffing and the ground game, which, and it's not necessarily a knock on him, it just becomes that way when that's everyone's strength. We have a serious deficiency. So it's not, again, I guess it's not really a criticism of him, but we got to figure that out, or he's not the right guy for us.
It's funny you say that, because the guy who maybe is he's more of a true free safety is Monte Nicholson. Yeah. Monte Nicholson is significantly faster.
Much faster. Yep.
He ran a 4.4 240 at the combine. He's a little bigger, 6'2", 216, so he's got the body, more of typical safety size. Monte, okay, if you guys remember here, DeShazier Everett was originally awarded the starting safety position, and then he got hurt, and Monte ended up being the starting safety last year for 6 games. Last year until he got hurt and got put on IR himself later in the season. But Monte ended up being the over-the-top free safety in cover 3, and Monte has the range.
Yeah, did quite well.
Monte and I think, I don't know if his coverage skills are better than DJ's, but he has good coverage skills, and so I think the common thinking here is that Nicholson, who is very young himself, he's only 22. Nicholson has the potential because of his speed and natural athleticism. I mean, he has a 35-inch vertical leap, 10.5 broad jump. He didn't run the 20-yard shuttle for some reason, so I don't have that. That's kind of your burst description, or your burst test. But anyway, I mean, he's more athletic. He has better numbers than DJ.
And we saw it on tape. He's got good game speed, obviously. So
yeah, he does. Yeah, that's exactly right. He has good game speed. He was originally supposed to be the strong safety, or behind Everett, but he ended up playing all those games basically at free safety. So, he's very young. He's only a second-year player, but, if he continues to develop, the idea here is Monte long-term free safety, DJ long-term strong safety. We'll see if it happens. The thing with Monte is he had 2 concussions just last year alone. That's the fear.
Yeah, and that'll get you every time. Seems like some of these players are just concussion prone and other ones are not.
Yeah, Jordan Reed says hi.
Jordan Reed every single, I mean, seriously. I guess I'll tell you what, in talking about these 2 guys, they're the kind of 2 guys that make you feel pretty confident. It is definitely not the worst safety tandem in the league, not by a long shot. It's pretty good. Problem is, Steve, bold prediction here. One of them goes down in training camp before the season starts, and we're screwed. Because I feel like that's, I'm not necessarily knocking their injury history or anything. I'm just saying that's the kind of thing that would happen to us. And it seems like a big drop-off between them and the next guy.
I like DeShazier Everett, though. He's an interesting guy, because he was an undrafted free agent out of A&M. He was originally a corner. He's 6'1", 195. He came in and he tried to make the team as a corner. He saw the handwriting on the wall when Josh Norman came in, and that's when he converted to safety. But he's got the size for it. He's bigger than he's at least taller than DJ, and he played 8 games last year. And he was all banged up last year too. Of course, everybody was banged up last year. And so I think, like I said, he was originally supposed to be the starting strong safety. Until after Sua Craven's cowardly, quit on his teammates, Everett was the next man up, and it was only because of injury. Because DeShazier had the sprained MCL last year. It was only because of injury that Monte
Nicholson.
Came in. So I think DeShazier could be a guy who is good enough to start. The problem, like you pointed out, is, he was originally the strong safety.
Right.
You know, is he as strong? Is he good enough to be an over the top starter someday? You know, we'll see. I think you're right in saying we have more strong, true in the box guys than we do cover three free safeties. But those guys are hard to find.
Yeah.
I mean, Sean Taylor doesn't show up every day.
It's true.
You know, or Ed Reed or someone like that. You know, you don't find those guys on trees.
Well, it's just the whole thing is exacerbated on our team because I know we're talking about safeties right now, but you know we had some guys along the line that were geared towards stuffing the run too or run stopping more than they were playing on pass plays. So it just like that was like the whole orientation of the team. It seemed like, and it didn't matter anyway because we were effing terrible at stopping the run. So it was like
we should be better at that.
We
though.
should be, should. Operative word being should. Who else? Who else besides these three?
Okay, well, now here we get. I'd like to go next to the cult of fish.
Yeah.
Meaning Fish Smithson. There are people out there who love Fish Smithson, and I understand that. I don't know where
Where does that even
Redskins
come from?
fan.
I mean,
It's part of it is his name. He's got a unique name, and so you kind of root for him. I'm serious.
people are so dumb.
There are some Big 12 fans out there who swear by Fish, and Fish was one of these guys who was a priority undrafted free agent. A lot of people thought he was going to get drafted. And Fish was hurt by the fact that he played for Kansas, which is the worst team in the Big 12. You know, they were 0 for 12, or maybe 1 for 11 last year, or in 2017.
They're the Browns
season.
of the Big 12.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, and they've been terrible. So there's that. I mean, I get it. But Fish was a very, very highly ranked guy coming out of high school. He was a 3-year starter at Kansas. You know, he has good skills. I mean, what can you say? At least he supposedly does. He's got mediocre speed, not good, not great. He's like a 4.55 guy. His 20-yard shuttle, which is, again, burst, 4.37. Just to give people context for that, like Troy Apke, who we'll get to, ran that in about 4 flat.
Yeah, but he's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that's kind of, to give you guys some context. I think Fish is realistically, he's a little undersized, but again, DJ Swearinger is undersized and is doing fine. So I wouldn't hold that against him too much. His problem is I think he's more of an in-the-box guy again. There are people out there who will criticize us, and we're going to get comments because I said that, who said, oh, he's got great coverage skills. Maybe you're right. I think some of you are out there are a little bit overrating him just a little bit. I think he's smart football-wise. He's got good football skills, good football intelligence, but he's got physical limitations that may prevent him, again, from being a guy who's ever going to be some big-time starting free safety.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
And listen, he got activated for 2 games last year.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
So it's not like we've really seen anything out of Fish Smithson, not the pro.
That's what I was going to say. Is like, how can you really know what you've even got there? It just sounds like he might be a little bit worse than the other 2 guys that are in front of him, maybe 3 if you count Everett as well. So
you don't read our Twitter comments, which I don't think you do very much.
Oh, no.
It's good that you don't, because I can promise you we're going to get comments from this little discussion. There are people out there who I read you the one on the poll. There are people out there who think Fish Smithson is the best. And, I'm not going to criticize you for it. You're entitled to your opinions. All my point is I don't think that there is enough evidence available to see.
Well, there's
that.
not. That's not a controversial thing to say. They're basing that off of his play in college, which is, what they know of him as a college player, which
right.
Not criticizing, but let's be honest, it's a totally different world.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Lance Zierlein, who I love and quote frequently on this show, has him rated as a 5.05, which means that's a guy who's barely going to make the roster.
Yeah.
That's how he was viewed. Again, as for Fish, he's a bit too slow to be a free safety. He may be a bit too small to be his athletic limitations. He's athletically limited, and so that may hurt him in the box. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Fish. We realize some of you love him. What can you say?
We love him too. We just aren't going to,
Sure,
make a diagnosis.
We're not ready to crown him. We're not ready to crown him right now.
Much better way to say it.
We haven't seen. We saw him in preseason. He looked pretty good.
And that's it. But you have to end it there.
Yeah,
There's no,
Yeah, that's right. So I'm willing to give him a shot. We'll see. Where do you want to go next?
Let's
Troy
talk
Apke?
to
Wanna go after?
Mr. Drafty, Mr. Draft Boy.
Mr.
Speedy
Drafty.
little sumbitch, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got elite athletic skills. This is a guy who he's kind of like the Robert Davis of the safety position group, I'd say. A ton of natural ability. He's very raw. His coverage skills are raw. This is not a guy that you can throw in there, at free safety right away because he'd get torched. Just he's got a lot to learn from a talent, from a technique perspective, and coverage perspective. He's going to take a few years to kind of get there.
Isn't he like
but
Cole
I think
Beasley size too?
No, he's bigger than Cole
Is he?
Beasley. See, you're just because you're comparing him because they're two
little white guys.
You're a racist. Yeah,
Hey.
he's not that little. This is 6'1". Cole Beasley's like 4.5 feet tall. Apke's 6'1".
Oh, he's 6'1". Okay, he's a lot taller.
Yeah,
than I
Cole
thought.
Beasley, I think, could play Tyrion Lannister in.
I mean,
Game of
in my
Thrones.
in my defense, though, Beasley's a very slight-framed guy. He's not a big dude. He's
wee.
exactly. He
He's
doesn't have a
wee.
big stature. I'm surprised to hear he's that tall. But anyways,
Yeah, Apke is not wee, though. Apke is 6'1", about 200 pounds. But listen, they brought Apke in because he's a special teams demon.
yeah,
That is going to be Apke's role. Gruden said it. Gruden said it in his draft presser, and I quote, "And he's great on special teams." That's one of the things that Gruden pointed out. His elite speed in the 40. Pointed out his short shuttle time, which is the 20-yard shuttle, was 4.0, which again is a half a second faster than Fish Smithson, or not Fish. Who did I say? Everett. Anyway. So I think that's going to be Apke's role. He's going to be, they're looking for somebody to replace Niles Paul as a special teams demon, and Apke's one of those guys.
boy, just you saying that made me think. Rewind to last week. It's probably going to be even more important this year for us to have speedy guys on special teams, considering they have spread out the kicking team on kickoffs, right? You can't have two guys together now. So
you're
now
right.
everyone's much more spread out. We're going to need a lot of speed, and we're going to need some good tackling on special teams this year because it just got harder.
And this is Apke, and it was Fish who had the 4.37 shuttle, not Everett,
Got
by
it.
the way. But no, I think that's exactly right. I think he's a hard hitter. He plays aggressive, and that's what you need on special teams, and that's that's going to be his primary role for a while. And if the injury bug visits Redskins Park again, you never know what happened. But I don't think Apke's a guy who you're going to want to see out there starting on too many defensive plays right away, just because he's got a ways to go coverage-wise, supposedly, from what we can tell, because we've not seen him. We've not seen him at all either.
Yeah. But at least, at the very least, you can say he's a very intriguing prospect. And honestly, it seems like the buzz around this pick was relatively positive, from around the league, the people who diagnose these picks. So, hey, I'm all for it. Excited to see what he can
He's
bring.
probably football. His dad was a football player, so he's probably pretty football smart. His dad was a replacement player in '87 for the Steelers. During the '87 strike.
Oh,
year.
wow.
So yeah, we mentioned this one time before.
sounds familiar.
On him. So he's probably pretty football smart. He's got athleticism. He just needs time to develop. And in the meantime, the way he holds on to his spot is that he needs to become the Niles Paul of the new revamped Redskins defensive or special team.
Nice. God, we could use him.
So. Yeah.
All right, who else? Who else is on this team that's a safety, Steve?
Quinn-
I know
Quinn
I know
Blanding.
there's some stragglers.
Quinn Blanding. Now, Quinn Blanding is a guy who a lot of you out there know. He's from Virginia. He's a Virginia boy. He played at the University of Virginia, 4-year starter, 5-star recruit, elite level recruit coming out of high school. For those of you who don't know, there's two main high school rating services, Rivals and Scout.com, and they both had him as a 5-star recruit, best safety in the state. So, he came to Virginia with very high expectations, lived up to him, like I said, 4-year starter. He didn't get drafted. He's 6'2", 210 pounds. He's got the classic safety size. But the reason why he didn't get drafted is his athleticism by NFL standards, because, again, he would torch you and I. We're not saying that. But by NFL standards, he's got ho-hum athleticism. Ran a 4.63 40, which, again, I realize that DJ Swearinger ran the same time, basically. Don't at me, I get it. I'm just telling you why he went undrafted. you know, the book on him is his athleticism isn't what some others are, you know. Go ahead.
Just he had some pretty good accolades in college, though. I mean, this is interesting because I feel like other guys who got drafted had less of a resume than he does. Just
I think you're right. Exactly right. Some did.
Just reading through this, I mean, he doesn't have an injury problem, first of all, which is fantastic.
No.
He started, 3 years, it looks like, every game at least. Had great stats. I don't put up.
I'm just telling you, the book on him was athletic limitations and coverage limitations. Yeah. That's the book on Quinn Blaney.
But he had a lot of tackles. He had a ton of tackles in 2017.
He was a tackle machine.
I mean, it just surprised us. It's just sort of weird. I don't put a lot of stock in those 40-yard times and stuff like that other people do.
Well, especially not for a strong
Exactly.
safety. If you're going to be an in-the-box guy, that's why I acknowledge, again, DJ Swearinger, who's our starter, is about the same category speed. I'm not saying that, but there are a lot of Quinn Blanding fans listening to this show because he played at Virginia, and we've heard from some of you talking about Quinn, and I'm not in any way saying you're wrong. I'm just telling you why he went undrafted. Yeah. Now, I'm glad he's a Redskin, and you're right. He had 136 tackles in Virginia in 2017. A freaking tackling machine. And that's, again, remember, it's 12 games in a bowl game. That's a lot of tackles.
Lot of tackles.
He was no doubt a stud. But he's going to – I mean, it's going to take him a while, I think. Look at him. He's not going to be the single high free safety. He's too slow. He's got, apparently he has limitations. So you got to look at him, maybe as his future is strong safety. Is he a replacement for DJ at some point in time down the road? I think that's Quinn Blanding's future.
Yeah, or he'll see significant time when everyone gets hurt again.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's, we're the Redskins, so that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I got to say, I'm not, one of these Fish Smithson people that's going to get attached to a player I've barely seen I've barely seen play, but I kind of like the draft profile on this guy. I'd be interested in seeing what happens.
Yeah, look, I mean, you're exactly right. He was an elite prospect coming out of high school. He did very well in college. He was number 1 in tackles in the ACC in 2016. Also 118 tackles. He did a lot of things. It's just with him, it's just coverage and athleticism.
Yeah.
But he was another one of these priority free agent, undrafted free agent types, that the Redskins were lucky to get. I don't know if the fact that he's a Virginia boy himself had anything to do with it. One thing I did notice, it's kind of funny, he has wee hands.
He does?
His hands are wee. Hands are 8 3/8.
8 3/8. What's the normal hand size for an NFL player, do you know? I mean, how far off is he? Okay, so he's...
Yeah, like my hands are, if you measure my hands by NFL standard, mine are 10 inches exactly. And I'm several inches shorter than Mr. Bland. It doesn't matter. He's not a receiver. He's not a quarterback. I just thought it was funny when I see 8 3/8, and a guy who's 6'2". It's like, he's got, like Tyrannosaurus Rex, claws hanging off him.
8 3/8. Anyway. Do the math, ladies. Small gloves. That's what that means. Small gloves.
You know what? I don't know. I don't know.
That's not part of the draft profile for these guys, thank God.
No, it's really not. They don't measure that. See, Quinn Blanding's never going to be on our show. Yeah. Now that you accused him of, being small below.
I didn't mean it, Blanding. It's just for the clicks, dude. You got to understand.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's Quinn Blanding. I know we know a lot of you out there like him. We like him too. He's got a resume, highly productive. We'll see what happens. And he certainly has a chance to make the roster. So we'll see. Last guy here, Kenny Ladler.
What's a Kenny Ladler?
Bringing up the rear. Kenny Ladler is somebody who played at Vanderbilt.
Oh, I see.
And has been around, making the rounds for a couple of years now. He's a 2014 Vanderbilt grad. Was with Buffalo for 2 years. Was active for 2 games, no start, no stats. Was up in Canada for a year, and then now the Redskins have signed him. Back of the roster guy. He's getting the shot.
So made the roster in Buffalo, played in the CFL for a year, and then now we picked him up. Got it.
Yeah. Kenny's problem, he's 6'1", about 210, so he's got the size, but he ran a 4.7 40. So he's slow. By anybody's standards, that's slow. Yeah, for a safety. So that's his problem. We'll see. He's going to have to prove himself because he's got a bunch of guys, ahead of him.
He's got a big uphill battle to make this team.
Yeah, he does. He does. I mean, he's obviously on small contract, 2-year contract. So, min salary. So, let's predict. Before we move on, let's predict who we think is going to be on the roster. Shall we?
Let's do it.
Well, you first. I brought it up.
Well, I think unfortunately, I think the top 3 are pretty obvious. I don't even think you and I are going to disagree on this at all.
No.
I mean, it's Swearinger, it's
You're right.
Nicholson, it's Everett.
Do you think they're going to keep 4 or 5, first of all?
Probably 5 because I think
so?
Well, I don't know. I could see it going either way. I think they'll keep Apke just, obviously, and then it'll be, the Cult of Fish probably. Or Blanding,
Fish.
actually. I could see either one. Obviously, probably not Ladler. This isn't a terribly interesting prediction on my part. I think it's pretty straightforward. It's going to be those top obvious 3. And then, I think they'll probably roll with 5, considering how many injuries we had last year in the actually defense in general. But I could see 4 too. I mean, shoot, I don't know. Either one.
Yeah, I think you're right. Obviously, the top 3, Swearinger, Nicholson, and Everett are locks. They're going to make the roster. I think they'll probably keep 4, not 5.
I could see it.
I think they may keep another corner because, I think the corner group is a little bit lesser, has more questions than the safety
That'll actually
group,
be a
so I
really
think we may
interesting
keep another
position
corner.
group to do, is the corners.
Yeah, we'll get there. We're going to get there in a couple weeks. We're kind of going offense, defense. We've actually planned this out, For the second year in a row, I'm proud of ourselves for planning this out and not winging it. Anyway, so my 4th guy, I'm going to go with Apke because he's the 4th-round draft pick.
Yeah.
Did I say? Yeah, 4th-round draft pick.
You just pissed off a
so I
lot of
think he's
people
gonna-
in the Cult of Fish.
Well, I think Fish is going to be, Fish has got 2 more years of practice squad eligibility. So I think Fish is going to head back to the practice squad, and I think they'd be dumb not to keep Blanding, long too, unless he just looks terrible. So I think what we're going to see is Swearinger, Nicholson. Swearinger's going to start at strong safety. Then Nicholson and Everett are going to battle it out for the free safety slot. The other guy being the backup. Apke's going to be on the roster primarily for special teams, and then as the other backup safety. And then we'll see Nicholson and Blanding on the practice squad. And then Ladler, I mean, if he proves himself, God bless him. I can't sit here and say that Kenny Ladler is going to make the team, but, hope he does well.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you in any way, actually. I think that's probably what we'll see, unless something really crazy happens in, the offseason here. I think we can pretty much pencil in our safeties.
From a salary cap perspective, by the way, real quick on that, I mean, DJ's the only one that has a big salary. He's got a $4.3 million cap hit this year. He's got
call that
2
big.
years. He's got, well, he's got, it's fairly big, He's got 2 more years left on his contract. And then the next guy up is Everett, salary-wise. He's got a $1.1 million cap hit, and the rest of them are all min contracts. So, and they're not spending a ton of money on safeties.
Yeah, we're definitely not overspending on safeties, that's for sure.
No.
Okay. Any other thoughts about the safety group before we move on here, or?
No, I mean, God rest in peace, Sean Taylor.
Yeah, we'll try to keep you.
I saw that this
turning in your grave.
Yeah, I saw this past week that one of his murderers petitioned the Florida court to have his sentence reduced. Right. That was procedurally, it was some quirk and some change in Florida law, but his 57-year sentence was held up. So that's good news.
I saw that too, actually. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, come on, you murdered a man in his own home. You're not getting out early, buddy.
He was the shooter. This was the shooter too. We're talking about.
You're not getting off early, buddy. You can't do that.
Yeah, screw him. Yeah.
Okay. Well, moving on then from safeties, we can talk. Let's talk a little bit about. Let's see. We've got a couple more stories. OTA still continuing. We heard some reports about Josh Doxson. What do you want to talk about next?
First of all, good news is nobody got
Thank
hurt
God.
in OTAs this week. We had another OTA week this week. We have one more next week, and then after that they have the mandatory mini camp, and then they're done until training camp. So I unless I'm mistaken, we have 2 more weeks of basically 3 days per week practice, and then they're done for a while. The month of June is the slowest month of the year for football.
Yeah.
But the only real input we heard from OTAs this week, John Keim and others, said Josh Doxson's
Yeah,
look
which,
good.
God,
Said
that's
he
good
looks more
news.
confident. Yeah, isn't it? Because I just like one drafted receiver to work out.
I know,
You know?
I know. Well, I think we saw last year in the action that he did see that he could work out. He has the ability to work out. He can make this happen.
Yeah, it's like when Jamison Crowder's your most successful wide receiver draft choice in the past 30 years. Is a problem,
Yeah, but I mean,
I like Jamison, but I mean,
he
come
shouldn't be that guy. I agree. And I mean, what? It was Chris
Yeah.
Thompson a couple, like 5 weeks or something last year was the leading receiver, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was. This is just crazy because Chris Thompson's a running
Exactly.
back.
So I mean, you're not
it's
wrong, but I
crazy.
think we can still kind of explain it away a bit by he still had lingering issues, health-wise. Doxson did.
Dotson. Well, the other thing about it is that this is where I think, for those of you who are still butthurt about Kirk Cousins leaving, understand that I think Alex Smith is going to be better than Cousins in spreading the ball around and taking shots, more shots downfield and passing in smaller windows. Because Cousins, one of the knocks against Cousins that I personally had, and I'm by no means unique in this, a lot of people felt like this, is that Cousins didn't like to take a lot of chances. Sometimes he wouldn't throw in small windows. It looked to me and looked to others that he was trying to he was paying attention to his stats and keeping his completion percentage up. I think Alex Smith is going to be less afraid to air it out, less afraid to take chances, and that's going to help Doxson in particular. And that's what John I give credit for that input to John Keim, who put that thought in my head this week.
Yeah, I actually agree completely. I think that's a great thought. It's going to be, they are similar quarterbacks, but you're right. It's night and day. I think Alex Smith just has that more confidence in himself. He's an older player.
Yeah.
He's going to take those risks, like you said. This could be a coming out year for Doxson.
I think so. And if it's not, he's going to be gone. Not this year or next year. He's got a 4-year contract. But the Redskins aren't going to keep him and pay him a lot of money if he doesn't break out at some point because he's a first-round draft pick. They just won't re-sign him. They're not going to. They can't cut him because it's a guaranteed contract. Okay, but they're not going to re-sign him if he doesn't break out. And he's a third-year player. I realize he was hurt in his first year, but. You got to come.
Yeah,
through,
at some
man.
point you got to show up.
Right.
You got to get healthy or get out. And it sounds harsh to say.
So that was the OTA input, the biggest primary OTA input this week.
Beautiful. At least it's good news.
Oh, and the other news is, that we were all, some of us were wondering where Zach Brown was because Zach wasn't here last week. And Jay Gruden said, I think he's moving or something. I don't keep up with people around here. Well, it turns out Zach really was moving.
Do we know where he
so
moved?
that was he moved to D.C. He moved into town.
Just into the actual city, though, or do we know?
Yeah, well, no, I don't know where he was specifically.
Just
No,
curious.
I mean, if I had his address, if we get his address, we'll post it on the website so y'all can go visit him.
Yeah, good idea.
But he had a 1-year contract last year, so he probably didn't want to buy a house and move here. He probably just rented something, and so he's moving to D.C. now. And so that really was where Zach Brown was because he put that out on Twitter.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm moving complete. So if you were wondering if Zach had a bad attitude because he was not here last week, no, he really was moving.
Does Robert Griffin still live in that house that he lived in the neighborhood with Jay Gruden?
Don't know, don't care.
I'm just curious. It'd be interesting to see if they all live in these insulated football player communities.
Because he could commute to Baltimore, I guess, every day. If he
Yeah, that's
wanted.
right. That's right.
He's just up the road in
That's
Baltimore.
right. See? No, he probably.
I really want to know if Robert Griffin's going to make that team.
Yeah.
He's the quarterback number 3 right now.
Yeah. I think he probably will because they'll go with 3, but that's the only reason he'll make the team. But anyways,
Yeah,
that's just my
probably.
prediction. Okay, then. OTA is going good. Good news about Doxson. The only other thing we had in the docket to discuss today was a slight front office shakeup as a result of this recent scandal. So who is this guy, since you are the expert on our professionals here in the front office? Who is he and why'd he leave?
Well, Dennis Green is the guy who left. Dennis used to be the president of business operations for the Washington Redskins until last week when the team hired Brian Lafemina in that role. And so they demoted Green to something called the president of hospitality.
President of hospitality.
Honestly, which in all my time around NFL teams, I've never heard that title before. So this is like a thing, listen, Dennis, do you want to keep your job? here's what it is.
You're doing
You're
hospitality.
gonna become the president. Yeah, I don't know what that means exactly. I didn't at the time know what that means, but now I do, because the reason why Dennis left is that he just got implicated this week in the cheerleader scandal.
Right.
There was a story that came out this week that Dennis was, having a lineup of cheerleaders, scanning them up and down, looking them over, checking out their butts.
Oh, Dennis.
And then picking a couple and to take them with him to go visit Sweet Holders. So it's basically, let me pick the best arm candy and take them
Go
with them.
Redskins.
And
right.
how demeaning
That's
is that?
just, it's demeaning, but it's
want
also
you-
not
it's
surprising.
like you're a
dude.
lo-
I mean, come on.
This isn't the Bunny Ranch,
But are you surprised at all that a
No. Oh,
male-dominated
no.
football front office would, do this kind of thing? It's depressing, but
Can you just see him? Okay, turn around, honey. No, not you. Next, stick your chest. I mean, I could just see it being very demeaning, all that. And so that he was fingered in that. But listen, I mean, my guess is that he either decided or it was decided for him that he was going to leave before that story came
Yeah.
out. Dennis is going to be the fall guy for the cheerleader thing.
yeah, I mean,
That's what the role is. We all knew somebody was going to go over it, and we all knew, it was going to be the lowest ranking person they could get away with. And I think this is Mr. Green.
See, I wonder though. I'm sorry. His original title was what you said? Director of
President of business operations.
Business operations. So see, the only thing that I can say about this is that doesn't sound like someone that would really be dealing with the cheerleaders necessarily that directly or intimately on a daily basis. It sounds like he was.
It's not like the Redskins front office has been stable or normal.
Exactly. I mean, granted, but I guess where I'm coming from with that is they found out that this guy that had very little to do with the cheerleading team was doing this. This just seems to me like it's picking up steam, and that potentially more heads will roll as this, as we continue to examine the cheerleading team. I mean, if this is the president of business operations, I mean, what's going to happen to
he lost his job, though.
What's going to happen to the minder of the cheerleaders, though? I mean, I'm assuming they have a president of cheerleading operations or something like that too.
No. There's someone who is the head of the cheerleaders. Yes, who is the one who runs the team. It's a woman. She used to be I think she used to be a Redskins cheerleader herself. I think she's not been implicated,
Which is
in
surprising.
This.
She's the minder of the cheerleaders, and this happened under her watch.
Yeah, but I don't disagree with you. But that just hasn't been.
It hasn't come out
the
that
way
way.
it's played
Yeah.
out.
No, you're right.
No, and she's certainly not the one that's pimping cheerleaders out to sweet
Right.
holders. She's not like the
Right.
madam, of the brothel
right.
here.
Right.
No, I mean.
Although I would not
it's,
put it past the Redskins to employ a madam of the cheerleaders. You know what I'm saying?
No, probably not. I mean, but what's she going to do if some butthead in a suit, comes down and says, "I want 2 of your girls. I'm going to take them to go visit Moneybags up in the suite." What's she going to say? No.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's
Was she going to go fight them?
an interesting question. Honestly, that is. I don't know.
This is a culture, a negative culture in the Redskins front office. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, it does not appear to be a culture that is respectful of women.
Right.
And how many stories have we heard about drinking? Lots of drinking on the staff. And I realize I'm Mr. Teetotaler, and I get that. But drink up. But for all I care. But you can't have a culture, a male-dominated culture, which uses women as arm candy. And you're all and everybody's having their their bourbon at 3:00 in the afternoon. That's not normal in a business.
It's like
setting.
Mad Men. You ever watch that show about the advertising executives in the 60s?
No, but I haven't
It's
seen
just
that
like
either.
the boys club, basically. The old boys club, basically.
And that's what seems like from a big picture standpoint what was going on with the Redskins. And I don't know if anything's changing, because certainly Brian Lafemina is not going to come out and tell Bruce Allen to put his beer back in the refrigerator.
Right.
I
I don't know. This whole cheerleader thing, it's just, I hope something comes of it, and I don't hope, but it would be interesting to see how widespread this is throughout the league. If this really is an insulated Redskins situation, because I haven't heard. I mean, I know there are lawsuits going on from former Bills cheerleaders and some other things about.
Not with the Redskins.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I wonder if this
and there has been some Redskins cheerleaders have denied that anything bad
That's
going
right.
on.
That's
too.
true.
So that we're just kind of babbling here, but there are people that say what the stories are a distortion of the truth, and if that person out there wants to come talk to us, we'd love to hear your input, onto this. It just seems to me like overall the culture in the front office was
No,
not good.
I agree completely. There's something wrong there, and they need to figure it out. Because this whole kind of thing is not a good look for the Redskins. The Redskins don't have the best image in the league already, and this doesn't help it.
Right.
Um,
And some guy in a suit, looking over cheerleaders and bringing them up to see sweet holders does
no,
not help.
that's just so gross. It's just so gross.
Yeah, it is. It is. If that was your sister, daughter, wife,
Exactly.
Whatever, that would not
No,
make you happy.
you'd be totally, furious about it.
Right.
Right. Well, hopefully something comes and we get to examine this a lot more closely. I hope positive comes out of this. From there, we've exhausted at least our what's the word? Our schedule.
We've had our
for
quota of
today. Yeah, our
nonsense.
quota of
Yeah.
nonsense. Anything else new in your life, Steve? On any other note?
Not that's going to interest the audience.
Yeah. Sadly, me either, obviously. Well, don't forget, folks at home, as you listen to this, to go to thehogsdive.com, click on the most recent article. It's always going to be that box right up top on the left side of the screen. That's going to be our most recent article. Click that, go to the comments, announce yourself in the comments, say you're a new listener and you listen to the show today. We'll send you a t-shirt. We'll get your information through the comments section. We'll send you an email. So don't forget to do that.
But this is, this is going to be like the commercial where you have the fast-paced talking, that's in the slow, that's at the end, and then the fast-paced part of it is, this offer is only good for the first new visitor to the Redskins, and this expires at the end.
This is right. I can't buy 100 t-shirts, guys. I mean, if I could, I'd do it, but I can't. So I can only give it to one of you. But the good news is we'll give out another t-shirt maybe the week after that and, continuing on through the off season here. So it won't be
This is new people. If you've been there before and we recognize you, don't try to fool us because
we will know. We know, okay? We see the back end. So it's only new voices, you knuckleheads.
Right.
All right, well, from there, we'll let you all get back to your weekend. Have an absolutely fantastic one. We'll be back with you. Make sure you're checking thehogsdive.com for all our written content. And other than that, we'll see you next time. Take care.
And we're actually getting to our weekend because they're going to hear this Monday.
Yeah, oh, yeah, you're right. Your weekend's over. We've still got ours coming. So, hey, have a great one.
Sorry.